Hello, Holistic Vegas. My name is Tyffany Howard, and I'm a personal and spiritual growth teacher. Today, I would like to share with you a simple self-help tool. Why am I doing this? I want to bring awareness to this simple self-help tool that can help you in your daily life. I use this tool, tapping, also known as EFT, and it comes from meridian tapping, which is of the Chinese medical system. It is acupressure in the sense that you use your fingertips, and it's also emotional therapy because as we're tapping on our body with our fingertips, we're processing emotional and physical pain. We're processing stress. We're processing those feelings that cause discomfort, those situations in our life that cause discomfort, even trauma. Things like we can use tapping for weight loss. In Texas, where I was born and reared, they're using tapping to help the soldiers with PTSD. Athletes are using tapping for performance enhancement. Tapping is being used in our schools now to help students with testing anxiety. Tapping can be used in many ways. So I use tapping with my life coaching clients because I'm a certified professional life coach. I'm also an ordained minister, so I use tapping when I'm doing spiritual counseling as well to help process my clients' emotions, to help them process those emotions that are uncomfortable, those negative thoughts, right, that plague our lives. So that's what we use tapping for. Let's get the disclaimer out of the way. I'm not a medical provider. I'm not a licensed therapist, or psychiatrist, or psychologist. But I'm a tapping facilitator, and as I mentioned, I use tapping to help my clients as a life coach, as an ordained minister. I use tapping personally. I teach tapping to lawyers. I've taught tapping to my law clients because I'm also a licensed attorney. So if you are experiencing any type of trauma or physical chronic illness, acute illness, please see the appropriate medical provider. So now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the tapping, right? Yes, I mentioned you use your fingertips, right? So let me go over some basics. You're going to use your fingertips and you're going to tap on different points of your body. As I mentioned, this comes from the Chinese medical system of acupressure. Acupuncture, we use needles. Acupressure, we're going to use our fingertips, right, on different meridians or acupressure points on our body. And as we are tapping on those points, we're simply talking about truthfully and honestly how we feel about anything, how we feel about losing weight, or how we feel about money, lack of money, or needing more money, how we feel about communicating, how we feel about tapping. Some people don't like tapping, and you can tap on not liking tapping. I used tapping when I was practicing as a lawyer to deal with stress management. Stress is huge in this country, in the United States. So we can use tapping to process our stress, to process physical pain. I was in 7 car accidents, so I processed that pain. I had neck injury, and I used tapping to help process that pain. You can use it for headaches. I've helped so many people, including adults and children, with processing both physical pain and emotional issues. Children with attention deficit challenges and with anger and with anxiety. So we can use tapping in many ways. How does it work? The science is still kind of unclear, but knows that it works. You can Google EFT tapping and look at the research. There are a number of clinical studies out there showing that tapping helps with stress, with anxiety, and with so many other issues, PTSD, things like that, and weight issues. So we are energy, we meaning human beings. The science out there now tells us that we are atoms and protons and particles. We're energy, and energy flows through our body. But when we're stressed, angry, have anxiety, or experiencing fear, the energy in our body gets blocked. And I'll give you an example. If you drink smoothies or drink a milkshake, anything, with a straw. Let's say the straw represents the body. So let's say you're having a smoothie with bananas and they didn't get chopped up very well. So you're drinking out of a straw, okay? A straw that's wooden, one that's not going to go in the landfill and harm animals. I had to throw that in there. So you're drinking out of a straw. The bananas didn't get chopped up very well. So you're drinking and nothing is coming out. Bananas are stuck in that straw. That is what happens to the energy in our body when we're feeling some type of discomfort or trauma, anger. It gets trapped in the body. Worry, fear, guilt, shame, even with physical pain, right? Even when we're eating foods that cause that slows down the flow of that energy, right? And we have foods that cause inflammation. All of that, all energy. Food is energy as well. So it gets trapped in the body. Tapping helps to move the flow of that energy, right? So let's say we're going through some kind of trauma, something that causes us discomfort, and we experience, right, the fight, flight, or freeze response. We all experience that. It's part of our makeup. It came with the body, right, from our ancestors, our caveman ancestors. The body has adapted to have that, to protect us from what it perceives as a threat or danger. So something happens and we become afraid or angry, or we're overwhelmed with work, whatever it may be. Fight, fight, flight, or freeze response. The cortisol levels, adrenaline, all pumping these chemicals throughout the body to get us ready, right, for that threat and that danger. Well, if we have too much cortisol going through the body, which chronic stress, okay, if we have too much, it could cause health problems, heart attacks, high blood pressure, changes our mood and our attitude, causes depression, creates suicidal thoughts, right? All these things that wear down the body and also wears down the mind. We don't think in positive, healthy ways. It creates brain fog. Stress creates brain fog from that cortisol, right, that we're having to deal with, right? We're thinking we're in survival mode. Tapping helps to process that. So I'm going to share with you some of the tapping points. So are you ready? Before we get started, pause the video, get a glass of water. You may want to get a journal. You want to get comfortable. And we're going to start with the tapping points. I'll take you through the tapping points, and we'll do a little bit of tapping on stress. So pause the video, we'll come back, and we'll start the tapping. Okay, so we're back. You have your water, pen and paper if you need to write something down. So now we're going to get into the tapping demonstration. So as I mentioned, tapping halts the fight, flight, or freeze response. It tells the body, it tells that little part in your brain, the hypothalamus and the amygdala, that we can stop, that there's no danger, so we don't have to get ready to fight. And that's what it does. So we have energy centers along our body where the energy flows and allows us to manipulate the energy in our body by tapping on those energy centers or currents with our fingertips. So as we're tapping on those energy currents or centers that are located on the outside, on the surface of the body, different spots, okay, acupressure points, we are stating honestly, as I mentioned, clearly, specifically, how we're feeling about an issue. When we're tapping on an issue, tap on one issue at a time. Also, before we begin tapping, we rate the level of intensity, what we're feeling about that issue, from 0 to 10. That is so that once we finish tapping on a tapping round, and we'll go over that, one round or more than one round, however you feel, you will rate how you feel after you tap. And that will give you some type of measurement or gauge as to whether or not the tapping is working for you. So again, at the beginning, before you tap, rate the issue from 0 to 10, and then after a round of tapping or more than one round of tapping, you will rate how you feel about that issue, the level of intensity, again from 0 to 10, to see if the intensity level has decreased. You can also, what I like to do, because sometimes I don't like to rate, how I feel, I just get a snapshot. I close my eyes, I get a snapshot of how I feel, how the body feels. And then after I tap, again, I go into the body and get still and ask myself, how am I feeling now? And I just get a feeling about it. So I know whether or not something has changed for me. Another tip, there are no rules. You don't have to tap in the order of the points I'm going to teach you. You can tap any point first, or however you like to do it. Again, you don't have to rate from 0 to 10. You can just go into the body and see how you feel, like I suggested. Also the water, have the water, because once we tap, you're going to be releasing toxins. So the water is to help cleanse. Tap firmly, but not firmly where you, so firmly that you feel discomfort. And another tip, you will process as you process it. Some signs that you are processing the energy in your body, the emotions, the situation. You may yawn, you may belch, you may cry, you may laugh hysterically, you may release gas. I've experienced it with other people and myself so many. Usually I cry or I laugh hysterically, but I've seen it all. The yawning, I've yawned also. Okay, so those are signs that you are processing your issue, that the energy is being released. Okay, also another suggestion, if you're new to tapping, work with a qualified tapping facilitator or practitioner. Look for people who you resonate with, okay? Not just because they have a lot of certificates. That means nothing. One last suggestion, if you're not getting results right away, narrow your issue. So now I'm going to teach you the points. And as I mentioned, you don't have to tap in this order. Do what feels comfortable for you, right? That's why we're doing this, to feel comfortable, to feel better in the body and the mind. So the first point is called the karate chop point because we go down like a karate chop. And usually you tap on your non-dominant hand. But again, no rules. Do what feels comfortable for you. I'm left-handed, so I tap on my right hand. So on the side of your hand with your dominant hand, your index finger, put it at the end of the pinky, your thumb at the end of the wrist, bring them into the center, and that little soft fleshy spot right there is called the karate chop point. You can tap using one finger, two fingers, all your fingers and thumb, however you feel comfortable. And as we're tapping on the karate chop point, we're going to repeat 3 times what is called a setup statement, which we'll get to. So let's go through the other points. So from the karate chop point, we go to the eyebrow point, where the nose ridge is between both eyebrows. So the next point is called the eyebrow point, which is right at the beginning of your eyebrows on either side. You can tap one side, you can tap both. It doesn't matter, it has the same effect. The next point is called side of the eye. So put your index finger on your eyebrow point and follow your eyebrow down to the end, and you're going to feel a little bone there and a little indentation. That's the side of the eye. Sometimes when we have pressure from headaches and we put our fingers on that pressure point to relieve the headache, that's the point, side of the eye. The next point is called under the eye. It's underneath the pupil. There's a little bone there and a little soft spot right underneath the pupil, and you tap gently there with one finger, 2 fingers, however is easiest for you. You can tap under the eye on one side, or you can tap on both. Just like side of the eye. You can tap on both or just one. So the next point is called under the nose. It's not directly under the nose. It's actually above the top lip in that little crevice, but it's called under the nose. The next point is called the chin point. It's not directly on the chin. It's in between the chin and the bottom lip, and that little slide spot right underneath the lip, crevice, whatever you like to label it. but it's called the chin point. The next point is called the collarbone point, where you have, you can see the collarbone. So you go down an inch either side, over an inch, left side or right side. You can tap both. You can tap just using one hand. Again, no rules. The next point is called under the arm, and for a man it's 4 inches below the armpit. For a woman, if you're wearing a bra, it's in the center of the bra strap, called under the arm. You can tap under either arm. You can tap under both if you like. I do that sometimes because it's fun. And you end with the top of the head, and how I help people to get to that point. If you have a baby, we were all babies and we're taught, do not touch the baby's soft spot. It's the soft spot. Or you get your index fingers, put them at the tip of your ears, and just go straight up. And that's the spot, the top of your head. Tap gently. That's where we receive our messages from spirit. Top of the head, the crown chakra. Love it, love it, love it. And we end with the top of the head. So let's go back to the karate chop point. So we begin tapping on the karate chop point, reciting, repeating a setup statement. And you don't have to use this setup statement. You can begin any way you like. As I mentioned, no rules. But I was taught using a setup statement. I was taught EFT by an EFT, certified EFT practitioner who was actually certified by the founder of EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, Gary Craig. So I'm a level 2 EFT practitioner. There are 3 levels, and I've gone to level 2. And by the way, EFT and the certification guidelines are governed by AAMET. I can't think of what that stands for, but you can Google it. So the setup statement begins even though. So let's say if you had a sore neck, even though I have this sore neck, I deeply and completely love myself. So you can end it that way, or I deeply and completely accept myself, or I choose to let this sore neck go. You decide how you would like to end it. So we're going to tap on stress, and we're going to go through the points. So follow along. I like to repeat what I'm feeling out loud because I feel that spirit loves to hear our voice. You can tap mentally. You don't have to say anything, right? And let's say you're having sleep issues. Well, try tapping mentally if you're not sleeping well. Just go through the tapping points, and just, even though I'm not sleeping well, I would love to go to sleep, and see what that does for you. Many of my clients have done that, and they've told me it worked. So let's tap on stress. Here we go with the karate chop point, and you repeat the setup statement 3 times. Okay, let's begin. Let's take a deep breath. I like to take a deep breath before and after each round to release that energy. Even though I have this stress, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this stress, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this stress, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Eyebrow point. I have this stress, side of the eye. I have this stress. Under the eye. I have this stress. Under the nose. I have this stress. Chin point. I have this stress. Collarbone point. I have this stress. Under the arm. I have this stress. Top of the head. I have this stress. One more time. Eyebrow point. I have this stress. Side of the eye. I have this stress. Under the eye. I have this stress. Under the nose. I have this stress. Chin point. I have this stress. Collarbone. I have this stress. Under the arm. I have this stress. Top of the head. I have this stress. Take a deep breath. Another one if you like. It feels so good to me. It feels so good in the body. It feels so good. It feels so good. I'm in the body, so I don't rate it from 0 to 10 at the beginning, which you can before you tap. As I mentioned, rate your level of intensity of how you feel from 0 to 10, and then afterwards you would rate after you do the rounds. And we did 2 rounds. You would rate it again. I just go in the body and I just feels so good. Feels so good. Make sure you breathe. Make sure you drink water to cleanse those toxins. And after you do that, guess what? You have tapped. So you can do 1 round or you can do more than 1 round. And again, tap on one specific issue at a time, right? Be gentle with yourself. And also, before we go, I'd like to tell you that I am the author of 4 tapping books. One includes a children's book. Tap That. Tap Into Transformation, the Spirit, Mind, and Body Connection, co-authored with international speaker, best-selling author, and nutritionist Sandra Kimler. Tap Tap, Tracy's Hair, God Made It Special, which is my children's tapping book about bullying. And Tap That Too, Healing the Death Trauma, which helps people who are dealing with death, those who are caregivers, those who are coping with death in any way. It helps to process the change called death. So I hope you've enjoyed this session of tapping. As I like to say, tapping works for anything that ails you. So whatever it may be, continue to tap that. Thank you. Namaste.